So lately, 'tis the season of rushing around and changing our expectations and wondering what to do with ourselves. And I have been wondering, what do you do when the holidays are complicated? So we're going to dive right into it.
This episode was inspired by some conversations I had with some wonderful young people who are friends with my children. And we're talking about listening to this very recording, this podcast, or seeing it on YouTube or whatever, and saying, I know you're talking to parents, but sometimes it's helpful for the kids to hear stuff too. And so I said, well, what do you want to know? What are some questions you have? What are some things you're wondering? And some of the questions that came up had to do with boundaries around holiday season when the holidays don't look exactly like maybe you thought they would or expect them to, or they're different than they've been in the past. For instance, what do I do for my first Christmas alone? Meaning I'm not going home for Christmas, or I'm not going home for Thanksgiving or whatever. Or what do I do when people start asking me about my boyfriend or my girlfriend or dating, and I'm not doing that, or, I'm not dating, or my sexuality isn't what they think it is, or I just don't think any of that stuff is their business no matter what. Anyway, there were a few more questions like this that were sort of a what do I do if situation. And really what it all boiled down to was boundaries around holidays, and specifically boundaries for yourself around holidays. Boundaries are always for yourself. But in this case, what I mean is, what are your expectations and what are your ideas of what the holiday is supposed to look like? I have had some really interesting conversations over the last few weeks because where I am in the US, it's, a lot of people celebrate Thanksgiving and a lot of people celebrate either Christmas or Hanukkah or something in the Kwanzaa, something in that time period. And those two things this year were very close together on the calendar, closer than sometimes they are. So it really felt like it was like a fast break. We all went home or we went somewhere. We spent some time with family. We got geared up to spend time with family. We had some turkey. And then suddenly it was like the Christmas carols were playing and the stars were aligned, that it was like this fast break, hurry up, get everything done, smash it all together. And suddenly it's, holiday week, end of the year shenanigans. And so a lot of people, the conversations I've been having are a lot of people being like, I don't feel the same as I sometimes do. This holiday season wasn't the relief that it sometimes is, or the joy that it sometimes brings. It really felt like maybe a burden, or like chaos, or just like one more thing to have to do. I know personally speaking, 8 years ago, after our election here in the US, I really dug into the holidays because I felt like, okay, I'm going to intentionally pay attention to the joy and the light that comes with this season. We decorated early. I dove into some Christmas movies on Hallmark Channel, Hanukkah movies. That was actually my favorite one that year. I used the holiday season and the light and the joy that comes from the holiday season almost as like a balm for my disappointment in what was going on. This year, election season came, and it was a very different kind of, letdown, if you will. And then the subsequent emotions that came up for me and for a lot of people that I was talking to were like, we didn't really know what to do, but it didn't feel like the holiday was the relief that we wanted it to be. And add to that it was like crunched in between all of these, in this quick 3-week turnaround time. And it just didn't feel like the relaxing family joy-filled thing that it used to be. And for me personally, like, we don't even have our tree decorated yet. We celebrate Christmas, and typically we have the kids. All these years I've raised these kids, and every year they help decorate the Christmas tree. They put the ornaments on. My husband will do the lights, and it'll sit there for a little while. And I usually take like great pleasure sitting in front of it. I have my coffee there every morning. I do, sort of late night. I turn all the other lights off and put the lights on. I haven't done any of that. We haven't even finished decorating the tree. My youngest said, I really want to wait for my siblings to get home from college to decorate it. And I don't know if that was like a sweet thing or if that was just him being like, I don't really want to do this. And so let's put it off as long as we can. But I know that I felt like, I don't really want to do this. Let's put it off as long as we can. And so when he suggested we wait for them to get home, I was like, great. Sounds like a plan. So I'm assuming tomorrow, maybe, I'm recording this on the Friday before the holiday week begins. And so probably I'm guessing maybe tomorrow I'll do it. Who knows? My point is, even personally, I have experienced this holiday season being a lot more condensed and frazzled and I don't know, just different than before. So when I got those questions about, well, what do I do if it's my first Christmas alone? Or what if I do if I'm not going home for this holiday and I usually do? Or what do I do if everybody asks me questions I don't want to answer at this holiday? We talked about the election. What do I do if the politics becomes the center of it? Or what do I do if I know I'm the only one who feels a certain way and I don't want to spend time with those people? So I go back to boundaries. And the thing with boundaries is that you are creating the parameters with which you can both love and be loved. Meaning, what is the distance you need? What is the criteria that you need for a relationship to feel okay? Look, I'm not trying to create a miracle here. Let's just go for okay. How do I get through this holiday season and feel okay? And the very first thing that I always start with, pretty much with everything, but definitely for this too, especially if your holiday looks and feels differently than you're used to, start with, well, what do I want it to feel like? What do I want from the situation? What do I want to feel inside throughout XYZ, name it, whether it's the holiday season, whether it's a specific holiday event, whether it's, the end of the year at the office, whatever it is right now that you're sort of like staring down at, trying to get through, how do you want to feel in that scenario? This can help with intrusive questions at the holiday. It can help you decide what you want your holiday to look like if it's new. If you're not going home, if you're not doing things the same, what do you want it to feel like? And within that feel like, you can decide, okay, what do I have to do to get there? So let's take intrusive questions. So this is going to be hard because what would you want if somebody's asking you about your love life and you just don't want to talk about your love life? Okay, you don't want to talk about your love life, but what do you want? Do you want to cut it off right away? Do you want to decide on an individual basis how much you want to say or not want to say? Do you want to come off a certain way about your love life? Let's say, I was going to say sexuality, but that's a whole other topic of conversation. But what do you want to feel in the moment? But also, what do you want to communicate about how you are as well? And the answer might be nothing. You might be like, they don't deserve to know how I am. But let's take dating. If you are or aren't dating, how do you feel about that? And what do you want people to know about that? And the answer could be nothing, in which case, then you got to practice. Okay, what's my statement to cut it off right when they start? Oh, there's so many other wonderful things to focus on. Oh, I'm not even really thinking about dating right now. I'm so busy with X, Y, and Z. Oh, Aunt Martha, thanks for asking, but it's not really a priority for me right now. Okay. If there is a significant other and you don't want people to know about it yet, or you don't want people to ask any more questions, you can say, oh, we're really enjoying we were really looking forward to spending time with our own families. Or, yes, but it's new and we didn't feel like it was time for this, end of discussion, and then flip it to something else. The point I'm trying to make, though, is whatever answer you decide to tell people, you can't really know what's going to feel good to you until you know how you want to feel. So if I'm going into this holiday and I think, oh, I just don't want anybody to ask me about my dating life. Okay, that's a piece of information. But what do I want? Well, I want to come off as the single successful human being that I am. So I'm going to answer that way. I actually am a single successful person. I feel like a single successful person. So I'm going to answer in a way that I communicate that people know I'm a single successful person. And I don't need a love life or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partner or significant other or multiple significant others to feel any more successful than I already do. That's what I want. So that's how I'm going to communicate it. The other part of all of this in the what do I want category goes into part 2, which is what are your rituals and traditions around the holiday? Because the bottom line is whatever holidays mean to us, whatever we're worried about or stressed out about or thinking about, it can be helpful to look at that as, does it actually align with my holiday expectations, my holiday goals, my holiday seasonal spirit, that kind of thing. So let me tell you a little story about the Christmas tree. So my husband loves a live Christmas tree. I am allergic to live Christmas trees. Hate is kind of a strong word, but I don't love setting up for Christmas. I love having things set up for Christmas. I don't love setting up for Christmas. When I was a kid, I was really the only one left in the house for a long time. I lived with my mom and I lived with one older sister who sort of acted like a mother. And so I was responsible for like dragging boxes upstairs. And I think my sister set up the physical tree. We had a fake tree. I think my sister set up the physical tree, but I know I was responsible for the ornaments and I hated putting the ornaments on. My mom had hundreds of ornaments. And they didn't really mean anything to me because a lot of them came from like life before me, or they were like gifts to her from people she worked with. She had a story for all of the ornaments. She loved her ornaments, but I think she also didn't like putting them on the Christmas tree because it was an overwhelming process. So I had to set up the Christmas tree. This is my memory. By the way, my siblings could all come on this show and probably tell you 5 different memories, and they probably tell you I was crazy. I never did that. But my memory is that I had to set up that stupid Christmas tree and put those stupid ornaments on every year, and I hated it so much. And so I still, as an adult, don't like it. And when my kids were little, I felt a lot of pressure to like create this magic in the house, and it did not feel good to me. It felt like a burden and another thing I was going to get wrong. There was all these years when they were little where we were broke. And so we just couldn't, like in my brain, we couldn't create the magic because we couldn't afford the magic. All untrue. My kids probably have wonderful memories of Christmas, largely because their dad is a little bit of a magic person. But anyway, I'm getting way off track to tell you that I don't love setting up for Christmas. I said it, there it is, bah humbug and all that stuff. Judge me if you want. That said, I understand that a marriage requires compromise. And so every year for 20 some years, we have gotten a real live Christmas tree. In the early days, he and I went to like a parking lot of the firehouse and we brought it home and decorated it. As the kids got a little bit older, I stopped going. I didn't have to go anymore. So like we went as a family when they were really little. And then the bigger they got, the more I was like, yes, I don't have to be part of this process anymore. I'll help you put it together when we get home and I'll help you put the ornaments on when we get home. But I'm not going to get the tree. And then when they did get home, it actually was a lovely thing. We would, make ourselves a cocktail or a cup of coffee, depending on what time of day. And, I would be suddenly in my mom's shoes of like telling the kids where to put them on the tree and telling them what each thing represented. And we'd have a couple jokes about some of the ornaments, and some of them were from their friends in school. And we'd talk about those friends. And it was a really nice thing. Okay, so fast forward to now I have 2 that don't even live at home during this season. And I am like kind of back to my bah humbug days of like, please don't make me go get this stupid Christmas tree and please don't make me decorate this Christmas tree. And my poor youngest, I'm still faking it. I was faking it for my youngest until he was like, please don't make us do it till everybody gets home. So here we are with a tree that's barely decorated. It's got lights on it because that's my husband's job. And he did that as soon as we brought the thing home. He and my son went. I got off the hook there. They went together because my son didn't have to work one day. So they went and got the tree, brought it home, put the lights on. It's standing there bare. I'm guessing when the kids come home, we will do it together. But it feels a little bit like it's not a priority to me. However, I host Christmas dinner. And I really like when the tree looks nice. So I will do it. I know myself, and I've learned over the years what I want out of the situation and what I'm willing to do to get there. I want the thing to look nice on Christmas. I want people to come into my home and feel the holiday Christmas spirit. I want them to feel warm and cozy and have the smell of the real tree and all of that stuff. So I'll do it. And ultimately, I do know that once I open those boxes of ornaments and start going through the sort of childhood memory stuff of my kids, because that's all the ornaments are tied to like family trips or family gifts or things like that. They all have, there's meaning in all of them. I was going to say there's not a pretty ornament on the tree, but that's not true. There's some pretty ornaments, but every ornament on our tree has a story behind it. There isn't a Christmas ornament that we have, including the like dilapidated little bows. They were originally just the only thing we had on our Christmas tree when we first got married. We just had these bows that we tied on the tree because we didn't have any ornaments. So even though those look like just decoration for decoration's sake, they actually have a story to them too. We only kept 1 or 2, I think, from all the years because they're not that cute anymore. So I know that ultimately I will enjoy the process, or if not, at least enjoy the fruits of our labor at the end. But I've had to come to those adaptations over the years, and I had to reassess it when our kids moved out. I had to go back to, well, what do I want? Because the rituals of our holiday have changed. There's no little people there anymore to go to the Christmas tree farm with my husband and, go and help me to put the ornaments on. So what do I want from it? For a while, we have a second tree, a little fake one that I put down in the basement. And, because one year I thought that I wanted to have like a themed tree, like fancy people, like, I have this family tree that has all these mishmash of ornaments. And I thought I'm going to have like an ocean beach tree. I thought that's what I wanted. And I did for a while. And it's almost like my like trashy tree is what I call it, because even though it has ornaments that are themed with the ocean, it also is like the big garland that I grew up with, that I loved, and colored lights, which I grew up with and I loved, but that's not what we have on our fancy tree upstairs. So my downstairs tree is like my childhood tree. This year, when Christmas has sort of felt like rushed and a burden and all these other things, I said, I don't know that I'm going to set it up. Like, if the ritual doesn't bring me any joy, why do it anymore? So that's my story. But for you, going back to, well, what do I want this holiday to look and feel like? And what are the rituals around it? Ours have changed. Ours have changed over the years as the kids have grown, but I can almost bet money that if you ask our kids to describe their childhood Christmases, they're going to describe some of those little rituals, putting the ornaments on together and going out to dinner on Christmas Eve and hosting Christmas Day, or, in their younger days, going to their grandparents on Christmas Day. They're going to remember the rituals of it, the cinnamon rolls in the morning, the things that aren't gifts even, or magic, quote unquote, if you will. What they remember, even from when they're little, is the ritual and the traditions that you create in your home. So if this is your first year that you're not going home, or this is your, 10th year that you're not going home, but you find yourself in a different situation. You're either with different people, or maybe you're newly divorced, or maybe you don't have your kids, or maybe, something has changed this year for you. What do you want? Start with that question. And then 2, what are the rituals and the traditions you want to establish around this holiday for yourself? What makes you happy? Maybe it's waking up in the morning and going to the one coffee shop that's open on Christmas morning, or finding the one diner that's open on Christmas morning, or seeing a movie on Christmas because you can. What are the things that are going to fill you up and make you happy, that either become rituals and traditions, or just are something that you're going to do to bring you joy today? If your Christmas looks different, if your holiday looks different, if you're not with the same people you used to be with, if you are with all new people, or if you're by yourself, what is it that you can do that's going to make you happy? And then do it. Just do it. Don't worry about if it's okay. Don't worry about if anybody else expects it. Don't worry about if it fits into what you think it's supposed to be this holiday season. What works for you, works for your family, works for whomever is involved in this prospect. What do you want, and what works to make you happy? And then do those 2 things. That's really all I got this time. It's not so much boundaries as it is knowing yourself, your expectations, kind of where they're coming from, and then what you can do to make all of that work and come true. And then may the magic happen for you and all who are involved. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being a part of the show for the last 12 months. Enjoy your holiday season. May there be some peace and some joy and a little bit of magic. Until next year, stay curious. Thank you.